And that partly frozen beach isn't frozen during this time of year. Darn. Alright, so for accent color we're going with green, which will require a lot of cactus. Good thing I picked up almost a whole stack during my adventure time. And it was painful to get. Let me tell you. That was a pain in the tuchus. Where did I put it? There you are. Okay, so now we have that. We need sand. Okay. Where is my sand? I wonder if I have any sand. No, I don't. And you know what? I should put the dripstone in here. Point to dripstone with normal dripstone. Okay. Dripstone, normal dripstone. Why is there snowballs in here? Alright, so let's go get a bunch of sand, and then we can build a small farm. What am I doing in here? There we go. By the way, this is from the Iron Golem farm. I'm all decked out because I AFK'd at it for a while. Pull these out. Spruce just looks so good, and it'll look great with these little accents I have planned. Now, you may be wondering, hey, Ruby, you're going towards a beach, but you don't seem to have your little shovel out. Why are you not going to shovel out sand from this beach? Well, I would like my beach to look nice, so I'm going to leave it. But a little over this way is a partly frozen beach. And that partly frozen beach isn't frozen during this time of year. Darn. Oh, I made a horrible mistake. Well, we can still collect the sand we need for the farm. It's not going to actually take that much. I just need enough to make a couple rows of cactuses. Like pick up some clay to Solidor Mason too. It is just like me though to realize that this place isn't frozen during spring. I've never been here when it wasn't winter. By happenstance. It doesn't know water is my mortal enemy. That's a joke. It isn't. I actually don't mind water. Okay, that should be enough. I don't need 46 sand. I need much less, but... Well, it should be night in any second now. So stop acting like I'm not actually getting ready. There we go. Perfect. I think sleeping bags should be added to main Minecraft because of the way spawns work. I love sleeping bags. I think they're great. They're super useful for adventuring. I love them. I also need a little to make the glass I want. So, since we're going to need a little space, might as well use my already utilized space. This stuff is mostly cleared out, but this side hasn't been. So if I clear out some of this space, I should be able to build myself a mighty decent little cactus farm. And I'm getting some iron while I do it. Do I have any torches? No. I have 2 or 6. We're just gonna put 1 here approximately just to light up this room while we're walking. Don't let me need that later. Let's use more doorite. I'm probably not gonna use this, so. I can put a little dip here so I can get in and out. Then you and you should direct all of the cactus to the right direction. I think I have some. Maybe. There we are. Perfect. Wait, no. I've made a horrible mistake. These do need to be on the roof because we want 1 block clearance. That should line up with all the gaps. And then it's going to be tough getting that corner, though. The real question is does it need an extra block or 2 of clearance? I'm going to give it some clearance. I'll give this row clearance, and we'll see if it produces anything without on the other side. Alright. Well, I got 1 bucket of water, so we can start with that. See if it actually fills up the whole thing. Nope. I was correct. We're going to need 2. Alright, now I need some hoppers. So I don't need 8. I only need 4. Should only need 4. Yeah. I only need 4 hoppers. Alright. Do I have extra chests from that? Yes, I do. Perfect. So this is going to be the chest. And then perfect. 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 Now I should grab some bone meal and test this place out. I have loads of bone meal. Don't need loads right now, but it's nice to know I have it. Does bone meal not work on cactus? Did I make a horrible mistake? I don't know. We'll see. I guess we're just gonna leave it for a bit, right? So hopefully she starts producing. If she doesn't, no biggie, we can make an alternate style. I feel like I've said that about other things. When you're a rat breeder, a lot of weird things are said. Oh, nope. Like, the amount of explaining, well, no, it's okay that it's his brother-uncle. Because inbreeding in rats is actually beneficial. Like, people just don't, they blue screen. Rats are really interesting because they had a bottleneck in their domestic populations. Which means now that domestic rats are pretty, they can crossbreed and produce viable offspring with wild rats, so they're considered a subspecies, not their own species. But it still matters because there is the distinguishment between the two tells you how different the genetic disparities. He's doing good. Genetic populations are. So, like, rats have very distinct genetic populations, even within places they live. Like, there have been really interesting studies on the different populations in comparison to one another in New York. And different rats from different parts of New York have different genetic similarities to each other compared to rats from, say, a different part, like, across the river, you know? So domestic rats are considered a subspecies because they've been genetically isolated from wild rats for so long. But the cool thing about them is that rats are really resistant to inbreeding. Inbreeding is actually, like, how do I explain this in the right word? So when you breed a rat parent to their rat child, it is okay, usually, because rats have a social structure that would have that happen. Rats live in colonies together, and they will live in a large group and gather food together and raise their babies together. But that means you have siblings and parents and grandparents and cousins and all these different genetically related individuals living in the same colony, right? And they don't breed outside of the colony usually. So you'll have these very genetically isolated populations that have a lot of relations to each other. And because rats do that naturally, when we manufacture that, as in, you know, as a breeder, I choose who gets to breed and choose who doesn't. and that protects the population from genetic issues and promotes a healthier population. And that means that I'm often breeding related rats to each other. I don't think we've bred a buck back to his mom yet, or we might have. No, we haven't bred a doe back to her dad yet, or a buck back to his mom. But we have bred siblings to each other, which is just very normal in any breeding, except for horses. I think you often don't breed horse siblings, but that's because horses have a very isolated genetic population to start with, because we domesticated them so long ago. Horses need a little bit more genetic variety because genetic issues in horses are much more common. But you will breed, like, cousins, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, if you look at racehorses, usually, like, half siblings will be bred to each other to produce better racehorses, right? So it's very common. It's called line breeding, but it is sort of a type of inbreeding. It's just a controlled type of inbreeding. Oh, I can replace the floor. But controlled inbreeding is why we get all of these animals that have such distinguished visuals, right? We control the breeding populations, and that's how you get variations in it. And it's fascinating. Animal domestication is really important to society, not only from like a mental health standpoint, aka animals are good for our health, but from a like evolutionary standpoint. Like, we wouldn't be here if we hadn't specifically chosen to domesticate a bunch of animals. Like cows, for instance. Cows only exist domesticated because the animal they came from doesn't exist anymore. The oryx, I believe. And sheep, too. They don't actually exist in the wild. I'm pretty sure bighorn sheep are actually a type of goat. Evolutionarily, like, they are a goat, not actually a sheep. But sheep and goats have a couple of wild cousins, and horses have a couple of wild cousins, but there are no wild versions of our domestic sheep and goat. Those are feral. So technically, like, wild horses are feral horses. They're not actually wild because they actually started out as domesticated animals that were then integrated into a larger controlled population. And domestication is just the controlling of the breeding populations. It boils down to that. We choose who breeds, and then we produce animals we like. There are some animals that chose domestication themselves, which is funny, like cats. Cats chose their own domestication. There is no evidence that we specifically domesticated them. Cats just started hanging around us, and then we were like, oh, let's put this pretty cat with this pretty cat, and hopefully they'll have pretty cat babies. And now we have cats, which is super cool. Can you tell we've hit on one of my special interests as a zoological illustrator by trade? I am obsessed with the intricacies of genetics and population control when it comes to... Nope, you're not leaving. I need a loom. Oh, I need a loom. Gotcha. All of y'all... Oh, no. They're not all yoinked. I need to grab that. Okay, okay. Now y'all are yoinked. Okay, I have 10. That's pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm just mildly obsessed. Just you know, it's just a special interest. You know, it's not like I've spent decades studying this at this point. Pretty much as soon as I learned how horses worked, I was like, cool, can I have multiple colors? How does that work? But yeah, no, so we have these really interesting things, and there are some horse genes that are only in certain populations. Like, Pearl, up until very recently, was only found in, like, Iberian horses and, the, Marwari horse, which is still a super rare breed. Particularly because those who breed the populations, it's mainly a dictator who breeds the population, but it's a beautiful breed, and it is originated from the area, so it is native to that area. It's just, unfortunately, not very accessible. Can I sleep now? Thank you. Oh my god, you guys are so cute. Alright. Oh, it looks so much better. Oh, I might have to do fur doors. Would it be too busy if I did... Okay, where is the fur door? Okay, here it is. Fur doors. Do you know what, honestly? I think... Where's my willow planks? Did I put them in the box? I'll put them in the box. Ugh. Oh, but the whole genetic isolation thing, that's what they were doing with the, so there was a Russian study done on foxes that pretty much domesticated foxes. Or, you know, it's baby steps domestication. It's just at the start of domestication. So the study hasn't been fully, like, domestication takes thousands of years or hundreds of years. Domestication takes like 1,000 generations, pretty much, is what we've discovered. But they've started to domesticate foxes, right? Because fur breeding for foxes is very popular. It's a popular fur trade. I'm not exactly super fond of fur farms. I think they don't do a good job of providing proper enrichment. Where did I put this stuff? Oh! Is it in my bag and I just missed it? I could have sworn I was staring at it a minute ago. But, oh no! Well, that sucked. That sucked bad. Oh! Stop it. It only does this when I record for some reason. There we go. Are we out of the glitch zone? Whoop. Alright. I think we're out of the glitch zone. I'm gonna need a bigger shame pile. But the Russian study, they started picking out the most docile of the foxes. Whoever, you know, was least aggressive. So what that meant was that they were isolating the population based off of temperament. They were not isolating population based off of coats. But what they found is that a bunch of different types of coats could be associated with temperament. So some of the coat changes they found was more speckling, more spotted coats. Some became sort of like pied. Some started to have a look sort of like collies, with the markings that collies have, and they would get floppy ears and curled tails. And foxes are part of the family Canidae, so we now have evidence to suggest that foxes, as a member of the family Canidae, means that Canidae tend to have these traits when it comes to being more docile. So docility may be connected to floppy ears, curly tails, more pied coat colors, stuff like that. And those weren't humanly selected as an introduction to the population, but just a lucky benefit, you know? Like, we were breeding these dogs that were following us around, these wolves that were following us around. We became friends with them. We were like, oh, this wolf is so sweet, we want it to have more wolves. So we bred it to the most sweet of the population. And then boom, we had these really sweet, but also very cute, curly-tailed dogs. Okay, I like this. I think, honestly, this is a good color palette. I think we're in good shape. I'm going to clear my inventory and then I'm going to move around. But yeah, so it could be that in Canidae, docility is involved with floppy ears and curly tails and certain coat types, which is super cool. Alright, time to sort inventories.